experimentally, something very peculiar happens when you raise the issue of climate change with people who, with what should I say, normal people, with people like when I raise it with members of my family, when the issue comes up, or when I'm traveling all around America doing work on the book, just meeting people on the bus or on the train, they say, hi, what do you do? Because they're very friendly, of course. Americans are very friendly. I go, oh, how do you do? Hello, I'm writing a book on climate change. And noticing how this conversation just dies. It doesn't go anywhere. There is a socially constructed silence around climate change which is very strong and very pervasive. And what is interesting is this silence has become created and negotiated without anyone ever actually having actively done so. People know that this is not a safe area to go. So people sometimes talk about this as a blind spot, you know, in the same ways that, you know, with a blind spot, you can't see it out of a corner of your eye, but it's there. And the brain brilliantly manages to fill it in. But I don't think this is a great analogy, because the whole point of a blind spot is the brain fills it in. But the whole point of climate change is the brain doesn't fill it in. We know it's there. We know it's there, and we know that we have socially constructed the means to not talk about it. I was kind of pondering this last time when I was doing the research. I was in New York, and I had a you know how, like in the States, everyone wants to talk about the celebrities they've met. Well, actually, not everywhere. It's the same in Britain. And I had a taxi driver, and he wanted to talk about the famous people he had in the back of his car. And he said to me, yeah, and I had that Donald Trump. I went, all right, this is interesting. He said that Donald Trump, and he says, and he has the weirdest fucking hair I've ever seen in my life. And he started going on about like how Donald Trump's hair was constructed. Look, I found this on the internet. This is a picture of it. And I was thinking, you know what, maybe the analogy for this is not a blind spot. Maybe the analogy is like a comb-over. Something where I'm allowed to say this stuff, okay? having resisted any temptation of a comb-over. I know. I mean, it looks like a military campaign, actually. This is how I get when I haven't had any sleep and I'm jet-lagged. I'm just kind of gibbering. So, but I'm not being entirely facetious. The idea that you have a problem and that what you do is rather than face up to the problem and actually say, hey, it's not that such a big deal, I can deal with this, that you actually start kind of just combing over. You know, comb-overs, they don't happen overnight. They start with a little tweak, a little flick. And then a year goes by and that parting, it just slips a little further down, a little tweak. What is interesting about comb-overs is you're not fooling anyone. Everyone knows you've got one. You know you've got one. No one is allowed to mention it. There is something about socially constructed denial which maybe mimics that. Now, is this important? Is the what I talk about in the book, the reasons why you might ignore climate change, is this important? You're looking at Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is fair game. He's very active in undermining climate science. Fine by me, I'll pick on him. Is this important? Does it matter? And of course the answer is absolutely yes.